Hello and welcome back to Farming Simulator 22 on my test map on Elm Creek for AutoDrive. Right, so this is part 4. In the first 3 parts we went over quite a lot of things. The first one was about basically the basics of AutoDrive, how to set up routes, how to connect, and what the buttons do in the menu and so on. The second one that I did was about reversing into triggers, so sell points itself. We did a bit of a loop as well, setting up a sell point from a silo and taking it to go sell at I think it was the farm shop just up there. So that worked pretty well. And then on the third video I showed you a kind of mix of things really. I showed you the park feature and how to use it and how to assign it to a vehicle. And then the same applies with that to an attachment. I then also showed you another thing you can do with the pick up and deliver mode, which is you can also like take it to a place where you want to manually load in something like manure like I did over there, or it could be sugar beets, and you can set up a kind of route or a course doing that and then take it to either a sell point or even to a silo, depending on what it is you're doing and where you need to take it. So there was a few things. And then as well, also I showed you a new feature, which was the fact that you can now set, with just one click of a button, set a tractor or some form of vehicle to go and get repaired. It will automatically do that. And then also the same with fuel. So I kind of tried to cover as much as possible in the last episode, just a little bits and kind of mashed them together. But now in this episode we're going to be talking about probably the best feature, the main feature I think with AutoDrive. The thing that it does stand out for is the unload combine feature. So what's great about this feature is the fact that you can be driving the harvester and you don't need to worry about anything else. You just harvest, open the pipe out, and AutoDrive will take care of the rest. So what it'll do is it'll take all the grain out of the harvester, unload it, it'll travel at the same speed with you so you can carry on moving across the fields. It'll then take all that grain and take it to a silo or a sell point, depending on what you set it up to do. And it is really clever. It definitely is. Obviously, if you're on a tight map with, like let's say a British map with collisions on hedges and stuff like that, there is places like that where it can be a little bit less efficient. But in general, especially on FS22, I haven't used it that much, but I've done a couple of harvests now with it, and it actually has worked a treat. I haven't found one issue so far. So touch wood, that continues. And yeah, we find the exact same thing in this episode. Right, so let's get set up for it. So I've got field 8, as you can see, soybeans in it, ready to harvest, which is the first stage. Obviously you need some crop to harvest. I've got a nice X9 John Deere, probably the best harvester you can get now in FS22. And I've also got this T8 that I've been using in quite a few of these episodes with a big trailer on the back, and I've put down a silo. So this is actually my third silo, and yeah, it's a big one. So I've tried to make it a little bit simple for the video. I've kind of just done a loop in here, connecting to the silo, and then back out up there and back down here. So it's just a pretty much simple route for the AutoDrive. For the worker in the T8, it's going to be simple. Now, obviously, you can set this to any silo you want. You can even change it to a sell point. Everything. Generally, by this point, if you're doing all this and you've set up your routes, you can have a network already going where it can connect pretty much from the main road off to a farm silo, to a sell point. Whatever you've got set up, you'll have it all connected. But for the purpose of this video, I've pretty much just got the field and then a loop here. So keep that in mind. It is going to be a lot more simple than what you've probably got it set up as. But if you do follow the videos before this, you'll know how to set up sell points, set up waypoints, set up parking points. So you're going to connect all that together as one big network. And then all you need to pretty much do is make sure that the field that you're harvesting in has got a waypoint, which I'm going to show you in a second. And that waypoint is then connected to whatever you want to take it to, and then it can come back. That's all you got to do. So first things first, let's jump into this and I'll show you what I've done. So as you can see now, I've got 2 waypoints. One's called Silo 3. It's well advanced on where the actual where the actual silo is here, because the trail is so long that it doesn't hit the trigger until just about there. So I had to make it quite far ahead of what you would look visually as the tip point. So keep that in mind, because it's the rear of the trailer. If you've got a big trailer, that's why I've always recommended to put your waypoints on your tip triggers or your silos a lot more advanced, a lot more further on than what you think it would be. Because if I set it here, the front of the tractor would be there, but the rear of the trailer would be here, and it wouldn't tip. So keep that in mind. Again, always a good thing to do. Always set up your and plan ahead kind of thing. And then I've got a waypoint here, which is F7. Now this is really important that it's next to the field. At that point, what's going to happen is he's going to wait for a call from my harvester, and then he's going to pathfind with this field and the boundaries and he's going to come and cart alongside, wait for me, whatever it is he needs to do, and then at some point he's going to travel back to this, drop off to the silo, and go and wait again, and for us to call him. But we'll get to the calling part eventually as I start doing the harvest. But right now, that's all you need to mainly figure out. When you set up this bit, you need a waypoint close to the field, because then if he's not too close to the field, it's going to be harder for him. So you really do want it quite close to the field that you're harvesting. So the first thing I'll do is just show you the route itself. I've got drive set up. We're going to tell him to go back to this point here, F7 wait. Now I've got it as one way, so he is going to have to go around, but I just want to show you the loop itself that I've created, just so you've got an idea of what's going to happen with the AutoDrive worker that's going to be carting for me. So while he's doing this, I can also show you, because all he's going to do now is go back round and wait at that point. While he's there, what I can do is show you some settings. So it is important, some of these settings that you've got, especially for the unload combine feature. So the first thing we should probably look at is corner speed again. Corner speed is always important. I always have it set to a lower speed than what it's defaulted at, especially when the mass of that trailer is going to be quite heavy. I'd recommend having that lower. The pipe offset I usually find is set pretty well, but if you do find an issue when he's carting next to the harvester, you'll notice that you can adjust it from left to right depending on the offset that you want. So that's something that you visually have to look at, but I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10 you don't really need to change that. The distance of the combine is when he is following at the rear end. I call it stalking. So when he's stalking behind, you can set the distance that you want him to be doing it. Now, unload fill level is something that I have showed in the previous episode when it was about the trailer that I just had just there, if you can make out with the manure. So at what point does he have a load that he takes to the silo? That's how it will be in relation to what we're doing right now. So for example, he could come to our harvester that's full up. Let's say it's 10,000 litres in that harvester. He could fill up in here, but he might only be at 50%. So what he'll do is he'll go back to the wait point for us to obviously fill up the harvester again. Then he'll come to for the second time, fill up from the harvester, and then if he's hit that 85%, he'll then go to the silo and drop off. Now, field exit I usually set to default. You can change that as well. Strict pathfinder to the field, I don't do that, but if you've got a map with a lot of collisions, you probably want to set that to yes. Sometimes it can actually limit the pathfinder in a sense that it might take him a little bit longer to figure out the path, so keep that in mind. Now, avoid fruit is always a good one. Have that to yes. Park in the field, I always have that to yes. So after he's unloaded from the harvester, he won't go back to the start. So this wait point, you'll actually wait in the field, and what you'll find is if you're harvesting like I'm going to be doing from this side of the field here, all the way down, and I'm moving along, you'll find that the actual carter moves with you, because if you've unloaded him, let's say just about here, he's going to park there, and you'll carry on doing your rows, and then you'll be here, and he'll come to you there, and it's so on. It just makes it easier. It saves a bit of fuel as well, because if the carter's always going back to the start, going back again, and then back to the start, he's got to travel further each time, whereas he can gradually come along with you, and I just think it makes sense. So the rest are like automatic tip side, yes. It depends what you want to do with that. Automatic trailer covers, yes. Now, I've found with this trailer, for some reason, on automatic tip side, he uses the grain door, which is the slowest one, but we'll let him do it. It's not a problem with me. It just takes him a little bit longer when he's dumping into the silo. So there's nothing in user settings that I probably want to mess about with in this one, but on the actual global settings, now collision detection is something that I would recommend to have on, because again, if you've got something around the boundaries of your field, it will detect that and hopefully maneuver away from it. That is the aim. Now, Pathfinder, before, if you increase this, it does take more demand from your computer. You're obviously telling it to, I think it's to compute more. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I don't change this much anymore. It does even say there that it should only be slightly increased in case the fruit avoid, which is that thing that I've shown you already in this menu. If that's on larger fields wasn't sufficient on headland, basically it's not working. So I'd keep that unless you've got an issue on that, what it's saying. Again, you can always highlight over these and they'll explain to you in detail what they are. So I think that's pretty much all that we need to set up on this. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do now is we're going to change its mode to unload combine, and that's what we want it to be on. It just stays at that, so we need to make sure that this is on F7 wait is the location that it waits for its call, but we want it to take it to silo number 3, and we're going to set him going. what he's going to do is he's going to go round in a circle again, and he's going to wait there. Now, if you've noticed this message says no harvester with the same target found. Now, this is really important. A lot of the time, if I've seen messages about people on FS19 saying it's not working, basically the trailer and the tractor is not actually coming out to the harvester at all. It's because you've not set it up right on the harvester as well, because there is some settings on there that you need to do as well at the same time, so they actually are basically talking to each other, so you kind of link them together. So let's get to the harvester. So we don't need to have editing mode on anymore, but we do need this. Now, I can put this in anything. I usually just put this in drive on the harvester, but what I need to do is make sure I pick the same point that it's waiting at, which is F7 wait. Now, if we go back to this, you can see that message is gone now, and it's ready. It's waiting for a call. So right now it's just saying waiting for call, so we know it's ready to go. So if you do click the menu in the combine, you'll notice that here is the combine unload settings. So let's talk about the three options that we've got. We'll start with the bottom. This is active unloading, and we've got it set to yes. So what that basically means is while the harvester's driving, the trailer and the tractor that's carting will come beside us, travel at the same speed, and we can unload while it's rolling, basically, as it's driving. If you don't want that to be like, you want to stop, then just switch it to no. You can also set it to yes, and at the same time you can also stop if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter, but at least with this being highlighted as yes, it gives you the option to have it either way. Now, this one I haven't changed much. I don't usually activate that one. Now, this pre-call level is, it basically determines what volume your harvest is at. So say if it's above 60%, which is what it's set at, it'll give the carter, so the driver in the tractor and the trailer, a call saying that we're basically at 60% to get ready. Now, sometimes what you'll notice is he won't move until you bring the pipe out. A lot of the time I recommend just put the pipe out. As soon as you put that pipe out, it calls to the driver anyway, and he'll start pathfinding. So at that point you might have like a few second delay depending on whereabouts you are in the field, but what he'll do is eventually he'll pathfind, figure out a nice path towards you, and come next to you. Now, I always recommend, in my opinion, to just stop. It's easiest to just stop, let the pathfinder do its thing, come up to you. If then at some point he's with you, you can start driving and he might come alongside you. If not, what you'll find is at the pre-call level, sometimes he stalks behind you and waits. It doesn't matter either way, but when I'm playing, I just stop, pull over, open the pipe out, let the harvester unload into the trailer, and I just carry on. So that's pretty much the only things you have there, them three settings. So now at this point, you can turn off the AutoDrive and you can start harvesting. So all we need to do is just crack on with this, and we're going to get up to a level. Now I'm hoping we get a good yield and this will fly up, because we do need 85% really. So it's probably going to take a little bit of time to activate the trailer to call to us with the 60%, but then not just that, we need that trailer there, which holds quite a bit, to reach 85%. So what I'm actually going to do first is I'm going to just jump over here and make things a little bit better, and I'm going to change the 85%. I'm going to change that down to 50. I think 50% will be a good point. So now what that means is when he's at 50%, he will go and take it to the silo. So what I'll do is I'll carry on, I'll keep harvesting the soybeans, and I'll cut back in when I'm getting close to the pre-call level, and we'll see what happens. Right, so I've done quite a lot this field. This harvester is massive and it holds quite a lot, but we've just hit the pre-call level. So at this point it's just been called. Now what you'll find is probably a lot of the time you won't move until we either stop or bring the pipe out. Now it's good that he's done that, because obviously we don't want him to be on the wrong side of the pipe. Now normally what you could do at that point is you could, for example, pull out, like sometimes it happened on Courseplay, pull out to the side on the opposite. If you're on the wrong side, your pipe's on the left and you're coming back down like I would have been then. What you can do is pull out, like I said, get your pipe in the right position and wait. But as soon as I open the pipe out now, the tractor is going to come right next to me. He's going to start pathfinding, and then he's going to find his route. So what I'll do is I'll just carry on for a bit while he's pathfinding. There we go. And what you will find now is, because we've enabled it, he should drive down the side of the actual harvester right under the pipe when he's doing his turn. So I will slow down because it isn't the biggest field, and with this size harvester, I have picked an overpowered harvester for this field, let's be honest. So he's swinging it around, and he didn't hit that fence, which I'm very happy about. And now, if we just stop and wait for him, he's aligned himself up with the pipe. As you can see, he's pretty much spot on there. But what we'll do is I will actually carry on driving, because I think it'd be good to show you that it can do that as well at the same time. And there we go. So he's on the left hand side of my harvester. He's got the grain going in to the trailer. I'm unloading at the same time as harvesting. He's noticed that I've got to the end of the field, and now he's decided to reverse. So what we can do is I can now, for example, show you that because I'd be on the wrong side of my pipe, let's say I want to go over here before I carry on, but I don't want to have 42% still in my harvester. You can just bring your pipe out, give him another call, and what he'll do is he'll pathfind again, and he'll go and sit right under the harvester. So we'll just let him figure it out, which he's just done. So now he's figured out a route and he's going to take it. And because we've also set it so he can park in the field, he'll stop exactly after I've unloaded it at 0%. So he won't go back unless he's hit 50%. So there we go, I've just hit 0%. He's parked up, he's probably waiting for another call. He's going to be nowhere near the 50% mark. So he's going to still wait for me to obviously harvest up this. Now, I'm not going to hit the 60% call, but at any point I can tell that driver to come to me by just opening the pipe up. So the pre-call, technically, you don't even need really. I mean, you can have it, don't get me wrong, but if you just want that driver to come at any point, just open up the pipe and he'll pathfind, figure out the route, and he'll come to the side of your harvester and he'll unload. So what I'll do is I'll finish off a little bit more, get close to the end, and then I'll show you the finishing touches of how to set him, let's say, to go to the silo. If he's not hit the 50%, how to make him go there. Anyway, if you've finished off, let's say that you've done 3 full loads, you've done a much bigger field, or a crop that gives off much higher yield, and let's say he's on his 4th load, but you've only got 4% in your trailer. I'll show you how to set him going and finish off as well, so you don't have to manually drive that last little bit. Right, so I've got one little strip left, but I'm not going to do that just yet because I just want to show you what would happen if it automatically hits that point. It's originally 85%, but I've dropped it down to 50%, but what I've just done is drop it down to 30% because of the fact we're not getting much yield, and the trailer's massive and the harvester's massive, so it's not hitting them points. So I've just tried to drop it down to 30%. So I won't continue with this strip until after, so I can also show you what would happen if he's not at 30%, for example, and he's not at that point where he's going to go there automatically. I'll show you that with that last strip, but right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call him and hopefully we'll hit the 30%. So he's now pathfinding as we speak, and he's going to figure out a route to come to the harvester, and hopefully, I think he's at 22%, so hopefully by the time he unloads this last 3,500, it should bring him up to the 30%, fingers crossed. So we'll watch what he does. Hopefully he will not have too much problems. I mean, I'm not that far off the edge of the field, but he should still figure this out. I mean, it's not easy to turn with that trailer as well, so maybe he might have a bit of issue here, but it looks like he's pretty clever in what he's doing. He's taking a wide turn, and it looks like he's going to be spot on. Like I said, it is really clever. I've not had many issues at all with the unload combine feature so far. So we need to see where he finishes now. Fingers crossed he gets that extra 8% he needs. I mean, it's not much, is it? 3,000 litres soybeans, low yield. If you sell at the right price though, it does pay well. Right, so let's have a look where he's at. He's at 29%, can you believe it? So we're gonna have to now reduce that to 20% and apply. Right, so he's exiting the field. He did it automatically. I was going to fill up the combine with soybeans and unload it back into the harvester. I mean, that's what happens when I don't pick the right crop. Right, so now what he's going to do is he's going to go, actually, instead of waiting in the field like he would originally do, he's actually going to go back to the start point, so that the field 7 wait point, that waypoint, and he is now going to go and dump it into the silo. So we'll watch how he gets on. In fact, what I might even do is jump out and watch him as he goes around. And then when he's finished doing this loop, so when he's finished dumping this into the silo, he'll then also go back to this waypoint and wait for another call from us. Now, it will come out the grain door. I don't know why it's coming out the grain door. I'll be honest, it's a bit strange that that's the preference when this is such a good trailer. But that grain door will probably open. There you go. But at least it's going in. That's the main thing. He's unloading. So, man with the moustache in there. He's doing a good job. He's now going to basically crack on. He's just unloaded the whole lot, so he's empty. He's going to go back to this waypoint here, and he's going to wait for our call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if I finished off this field and had a small amount, which is probably what's going to happen. I'll show you what you can do and how you can set him to go and drop it off anyway. So he's just hit the waypoint. He's now waiting for a call again. So it is really simple. I mean, all you've pretty much got to do is just set up the loop for him to go from the waypoint that you've set around the field where he waits for us to call him by opening the pipe. Then you've got to set a trigger where he's either going to sell or basically put into a silo. And then all you need to do in the harvester is just keep opening your pipe. Every time you want him to come to you, open the pipe and let him figure out exactly what you want him to do. Now I've just opened it to try and confuse him a little bit, just to see how he'll get on, because I am moving and he is pathfinding as I'm moving. So if I now stop, will he adjust from where I first called him? That is the question. May as well turn the harvester off. Now it looks like to me that he's slowed down and he's probably realised now that his original pathfind wasn't good enough and he needs to readjust. So as you can see, he's now going to swing back around and probably come down on himself and back down here. But this is why I always recommend to stop and then open the pipe. So you pathfind, he doesn't have to pathfind again after that. He's not adjusting. He's pretty much just going to where you've set him to obviously unload from. Now, I only do that for preference. It just makes your life a little bit easier, because he's had to stop there, and he would have gone, that was the original pathfind, he would have unloaded the harvester where I first opened the pipe, but now he's had to change and come to the second spot where I stopped at. So it is better just to stop, open the pipe, let him unload, and then carry on. So he's not going to be at the 20% now. That's what we'll find. I think I actually need to be in there, don't I, because the harvester won't tip. But that'll do. That'll do. So he's waiting for a call, but we don't want him to. What we want him to do is to go to silo 3. So we're just going to press the continue button. And there you go. So he's now exiting the field. He's going to the field 7 waypoint again. Because it does happen that you get to the end of the harvest and you might not have that required amount for him to register that he needs to go drop off to the silo. So all you have to do is press that continue button, and at that point he'll go to the first waypoint that you put in, which is field 7 for me, and then he'll carry on and take it to the silo. As you can see now, silo 3 is in green, and that's where he's off. And that's pretty much job done. That would be your final act whilst using the unload combine feature. If you then did have, for example, a park point for your tractor and trailer, you could go tell him to park the trailer. You could then detach from it, and then you can go tell him to go and park the T8 up, and it'd be job done. And all you had to do was harvest and pay a wage, obviously, if you've got that set as. And there we go, grain door's done, job done. So all you'll do now is go back to that first point. You'd obviously turn it off, and it would be job done. So as you can see from that, then it's really easy to use. It's not difficult at all. It does work really well. Remember, the main thing is to open the pipe. That's the best way to call him. Give him enough space to pathfind, and also if you've got it set around a field where there's a lot of collisions, then basically just have him only turning in the field, only active in the field. Don't let him go out of the field boundaries when turning. Let him do his pathfind inside the field boundaries, which should make life a lot easier when it comes to him not hitting anything and causing you any issues. So we'll turn that off. I think that's job done. Now, this is the last video that I'm going to be doing on AutoDrive for a bit. There is one more thing I want to talk about on AutoDrive, but until Courseplay comes out with its fully developed version that's not in the stage that it's currently in, there's not going to be a video on that just yet. Now, that video, basically what it does is there's in the previous version of AutoDrive on FS19 and Courseplay, you had basically a button where you could use them together, and it was really clever. You could set a Courseplay in a field, and then you could activate the Courseplay from AutoDrive. So you could be parked up in a garage. You could set let's say you were ploughing field 15 on Challengton Valley, for example, and then you set that course up with the plough. You're already attached to the plough. You could tell AutoDrive to drive to field 15. You'd press this Courseplay symbol button, and what it'd do is basically start the course off all on its own. So that Courseplay you set up, you'd start it off, but it'd use AutoDrive to drive to the field, and that's why I always think using AutoDrive and Courseplay together is the best way to go. But hopefully soon, Courseplay will come out, and we'll have that feature as well on AutoDrive again, and then I can show you that in detail. It's pretty simple again to use, but I will show it off when it's available. So hopefully you found the AutoDrive mini-series that I've just done, these 4 videos, helpful. Hopefully it's shown you pretty much the basics of how to use it, and also what the features kind of do and what it offers. And if you have found the video useful and you're using AutoDrive right now because of it, and you're enjoying it, then please give the video a thumbs up, because that does help my channel out. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one on Farming Simulator.